Alright guys, Telecom back again today. Hope you're enjoying your Saturday so far. This is a pre-recorded video, so if anything crazy happened on Friday night, I'll talk about it in tomorrow's video. But today, we've got to talk about this Seattle Surge roster, because just a couple of days ago now, Damon Karma Barlow, the greatest of all time, a lot of people would say in Call of Duty, retired from the game. Really high-profile retirement that we haven't seen for a long time in Call of Duty, maybe since all the way back in the Nade Shop days was the last retirement that really came with a similar caliber to this one. But yeah, regardless of the situation and Karma's next steps, it leaves Seattle Surge in a really precarious spot, right? When they signed this team at the start of the season, you've got Octane, you've got 3-time world champion Karma, you've got 2-time world champion Apathy, you've got Enable, made the grand finals of champs the last two seasons, then you've got Slacked, pretty underrated player over his career who's had great success with Octane in the past, especially. This roster looked pretty damn good on paper. At the time, I think I made a video saying it was kind of mediocre compared to some of the other squads that were being put out there. Turns out it's a fair bit worse than that, right? And all these, all the dramas with the roster changes, Enable going out, Panda coming in, not really having much effect, Enable coming back for one series, dropping a 0.6, and they drop him completely. You know, the team was just in such a state, and Karma decided, look, I'm out, guys. I don't even want any part of this anymore. So, yeah, I'm retiring from the game entirely. Doesn't leave Seattle Surge in a good spot, and it seems like for a while they've actually been blacklisted from scrims with a lot of the top teams. A lot of the top teams would prefer to scrim against amateur teams than scrim against the Seattle Surge, and that certainly says something, right? And yeah, the amateur teams are very good. I think it was Clayster that said that Singularity, when they were romping the North American amateur scene, were like a top 6 team in the entire game when they had Chain on the squad. Now they've swapped out Chain for Gizmo, but yeah, well, that was a topic for discussion on another day. But let's hop into things here. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new as always, because a lot of things are changing with the Seattle Surge right now, mainly regarding the roster. That's what we talk about first of all. So Joey Nubsy says a coaching update on @Enable. Ian has been incredibly professional and understanding of our team, asks of him throughout the season. Unfortunately, we are not in a position to have him join the starting lineup in the interim, so the interim after Karma's departure. He will continue to support the team on a day-to-day basis as needed, and we thank him for being a great teammate as we navigate through this challenging season. Joey, Surge head coach. So, this is an interesting announcement, right? We're not in a position to have him join the starting lineup in the interim. Looks like they're moving in other directions. People have talked about, yo, Gunless could potentially join this team, but think about it from a business perspective, right? Like, how does it make sense for Chicago to, I guess they could sell Gunless over to the Seattle Surge squad, and I'm sure that Hex isn't particularly keen to keep a player as talented as Gunless just sitting on the bench. Like, he's pretty keen to facilitate his next move. But, you know, what does Chicago get in return? They don't want Panda, so it would just be like a money exchange. And Surge probably don't want to extend their funding even further than they already have. Maybe because Karma retired, it means that he no longer counts towards the salary cap, so maybe they can bring in another player without having to pay towards the luxury tax or whatever. But, you know, that's all business stuff behind the scenes. I can't really see how that move makes sense either way. And does Gunners want to join this squad right now? Like, you know, does Octane even want him? That's a question that could be asked, right? So, yeah, this is what comes out from Joey Nubsy. Then he confirms that Proto will be joining the starting lineup. He's something that I've worked with at the beginning of my coaching career. Excited to work with him again throughout the rest of this season. And Proto says, I'm excited to play and start for CS. I know we aren't in the best spot currently, but I really want to work to improve upon our weaknesses and be the best team we can be. So, cool to see. I talked about this before, right? How I think that Proto should have deserved a spot in this team. Seems like the type of player that could bring what they need to the squad. We talked about pace, we talked about selflessness, we talked about some of the other changes that some of the teams have made, the likes of New York, for example, that have brought in Mac and improved significantly as a squad with that injection of pace. And exactly the same what Chicago have done with Pristini in the squad, bringing in General kind of in the interim to try and fill that role while they got the Pristini stuff sorted behind the scenes. So Proto joins the starting lineup, but this is what Enable says right here. Unfortunately, I won't be starting for Seattle Surge for the rest of the season. I appreciate all the support I've received this year. I will be back. So this I find pretty incredible, frankly, that it seems like Surge have said, look, Enable, we appreciate your support this entire year, but you're crap at the game and we're not getting you back at all. Which surprises me, really, given that there's a few more events in the season here. Surge have to play at least 3 more events. Maybe it's 4, maybe it's 3, I'm not exactly sure right now, but it's something in that ballpark. What if they go to the next 2 events with Proto and hit rock bottom, right? They just play awful, they lose 3-0 every single series, getting stomped by the new LAG squad. They don't look good at all. At that point, have you completely ruled out the prospect of Enable coming back? Because that's what it seems like to me. It seems like Enable now has just been told, or it's been decided, that he's never coming back, and just look for future options and try build connections for next season when we're going to maybe ship you off or maybe keep you if the game suits you or whatever. But it seems a strange decision to me that Enable comes out and straight up says, like, I won't be playing for the rest of the season. Seems like Seattle and Joey Nubsy have made up their minds that Enable shouldn't be coming back, which maybe is fair enough, but at the same time it feels like, what if things go horribly wrong with this new squad? I guess there would still be room to bring it back, but clearly it's not on Enable's mind right now. Does he even want to help this team continue to get better, right, given the way maybe he feels he's been treated so far this season? And okay, this is what Octane says, as we discussed a couple of days ago. Now, back to AR. So he was running this flex role very briefly when Karma said he would take over the AR role, just trying to make everything possibly work with that squad. Doesn't happen. Octane back to the main assault rifle, definitely the right move. Like, I talked about this at the time, like, Octane off the main AR, they've just lost the plot, right? So yeah, okay, Octane on the main AR could be, at least the team could potentially build around that once again, as they did before, and this is the squad that they are rocking with right now. So Apathy, Octane, Slacked, Panda, Proto, Enable on the substitute bench, and Karma fully retired from the game right now in a really crazy situation. So Proto and Panda, both substitutes getting a tryout here. Enable not going to be coming back for Panda or anything anytime soon. Possible that Enable says he stepped out because they're working on some other move behind the scene, like bringing in Gunless or something, and therefore they've told Enable, look, we're working on this move, we're never going to need you because we're getting Gunless in for Panda or something like that. That could be an option, but I don't think that's overwhelmingly likely. But yeah, intrigued to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. Just wanted to mention this as well quickly. So we discussed at this time this whole Octane supposedly ultimatum where someone on the squad, and Pac-Man, Nameless, and Enable talked about this on the CoDcast at the time, saying that, like, look, someone on the team supposedly didn't want Enable on the squad and said that if they Enable didn't get benched, they would then bench themselves. And the discussion really revolved around who on the squad has the power to say that I'll bench myself if you don't drop this guy. You know, the rumor was that it was Octane at the time, but Enable actually counters that now and clearly, obviously, tries to clear the air on the whole situation. Said, just shed some light on my situation. I wanted to keep competing, didn't care about my stock looking bad or anything. I just wanted to try and turn things around with the team, but no one on the team wanted to play with me besides Sam. So in fact now he's saying, obviously at the time he didn't say the other way around, it was just implied, not necessarily implied by him, but kind of intimated, and but now he's saying that in fact Octane was the guy who wanted to keep him all along, and it's the rest of the guys that weren't particularly keen. So it looks like that's the case going forwards. Obviously Enable hasn't had the greatest season so far in this game, but you know, still just wanted to make sure you guys are aware of that. This is the other side of the story then regarding the blacklisting. So this came out a couple of days ago. Joey Nubsy tweeted death, taxes, and scrimming LAG. So, you know, the whole there's only 2 things certain in life, or 3 things certain in life with scrimming LAG. People are looking at this like, what's going on here? Why are Seattle only scrimming the Los Angeles Guerrillas, given that's a team they have pretty good matches against? They're 4-0 against, lost the most recent one, so 4-1 actually now. And apparently this is what it looks like. So this is the tweet that came out from Granite Studio Intel just yesterday. Seattle are blacklisted from pro scrims because they're ass or don't turn up on time. I'll play the clip.
Some other associated personnel, you guys are blacklisted, and he was wondering if that was a joke or if there's actually something
Definitely not a joke.
pro teams.
Wait, really?
Most certainly not a joke.
Wait, what is the details of it?
We don't get scrims anymore because either we're ass or we were never on time, so we scrimmed 3 pro teams. Yes, that has been a thing for 2 months.
To be fair, it's a real thing. I had so many scrims booked with Seattle, and then the day of, Joey would just hit me up and be like, you know what? I'm sure you're not surprised, but yeah.
So clearly earlier in the season, they weren't turning up on time to scrims, as Pac-Man is talking about when he was the OGLA coach, saying that, like, look, Joey Nubsy would just text them saying someone hadn't woken up or whatever the case was at the time. Of course, not an ideal impression to be setting. At the same time, even if you do turn up late to scrims, as some of the good pro teams have earlier in the season, like, you know, talk about Chicago and stuff like that, with Formula Gunners getting up late and all this stuff that RC's talked about on the TripCap podcast or whatever it was with the CDL at the time. But of course, Chicago aren't getting blacklisted because they're a good team, right? So Seattle, obviously, the pros don't want to scrim them because they're just not good enough right now. And maybe, you know, then again, against the amateur teams, they could get some pretty decent practice as well and probably have to build their stock up to the point where the pros are going to decide to start practicing with them again. Because if you're an Atlanta FaZe or a Dallas Empire, why would I scrim a Seattle squad which is completely dysfunctional when I can probably get better practice off a good amateur team that is putting their heart and soul into trying to be the best player they can possibly be? So yeah, really intriguing situation on the whole. And as Jordan says here in reply, Joey said today in the Huntsman scrims that 7 teams have them blacklisted, was during Scump's stream. Can probably go back and get a clip, etc. So yeah, 7 out of the 12, well, out of the 11, I guess, remaining CDL teams don't play Seattle. Of course, one of the teams that does play them, I suppose, LAG, with what Joey Nubsy's talking about right there. But yeah, really interesting situation. I guess this is understandable. Maybe it's not necessarily a blacklist if it's just like, you know, you're not good enough to scrim. You know, it's not necessarily they're blacklisted for an incredible reason other than you're just not good enough right now enough to prove yourself at the upcoming event. So maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't really see it being overwhelmingly likely with this squad right now, but you know, Proto, I'm happy he's at least getting his chance on the starting lineup, but I just don't think this team quite has the power, right? When you look at the start of the season against this team compared to some other rosters, I was like, look, does it have the slaying power? Now you've got Panda and Proto in the team. It's a similar boat, really. I think they're in now than they were at the start of the season, but I'm glad that Proto's getting his try on the squad because, you know, pace in this game is very important right now. So, you know, just to finish off with this, as Enable says, we didn't even practice before that event where he had 1 series and dropped to 0.6. Probably the worst practice I've ever been a part of. And this is what they talked about, like, Slack said they went, what, 6 in 39 map count or whatever it was. Something pretty terrible in scrims leading up to that event. And then Enable's out the team, Karma retires, Seattle falls apart. And we'll have to see how the coming weeks go from here. But they will be playing at the next home series event, I believe. So, yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. Maybe this Proto team can turn things around. Not overwhelmingly likely, in my opinion. Seattle still probably a shambles for the time being. Intrigued to hear your thoughts below. Thanks for watching the video as always. Like if you guys enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new. I'll see you next time.
Alright, let's try some lunges.
Oh yeah, dude.
Okay, we'll give these a try.
Oh yeah, dude.
Alright, this is the moment of truth.
Hasn't even started yet. I'm already laughing. Holy fuck. No, he's touching his knee with a...